beautiful souls, it's Tan back here again today with you on this Astrology, Human Design and Gene Keys channel. And today I'm very excited because I'm going to be talking about a very interesting channel in Human Design, and that is the channel 2343. So before we get started, I just wanted to let you guys know that I also have an art YouTube channel. Please head over there and hit the subscribe button. I post art videos and paintings that I make from time to time, and I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I want you guys there as well. Alright, so if any of you guys watching out there have this particular channel, do comment below and let us know what your experiences have been having this channel that is also sometimes called the channel of the freaked genius. And so I want to get started talking about this channel from the perspective of the genius side of it first. And I want to use the example of Salvador Dali as somebody who had this channel with his sun in gate 23. So his earth is in gate 43, so that's his life's work in the gene keys and his evolution in the gene keys. And he's born on the cross of explanation, so he's got the 2343, 49-4 in his human design and in his gene keys profile. But I believe that Salvador Dali also has a couple of other noteworthy gates, like gate 51, the gate of awakening and initiation in his body graph as well. But yes, let's look at the gift of this gate, which is called genius. So the gift of this channel, which is called genius. So if we look at how this channel actually functions, it connects the ajna to the throat. So this channel is a channel that is all about speaking your mind, or the throat can be a center of manifestation. So manifesting something in the real world from your mind. And you can do that through the way that you speak or any other medium that you use to convey your ideas, your concepts, and your thoughts about the world. Whether that is through acting, through art, a painting like Salvador Dali, through writing a book, through a business that you create, through the types of communities that you belong to. There's many different ways that you can be in the world and convey the concepts in your mind into the world with this channel. So there tends to be, with this channel, a inner knowing about something in the world. And this is going to be an inner knowing for each individual that has this channel. They're not going to know about everything in the world. But what they tend to know, to really know, okay, Gate 23 speaks on words of I know, depends on their incarnation cross, because you can have the 2343 as a cross of explanation like Salvador Dali. That means that you're going to know about some kind of revolutionary thing that tends to be about human relationships and intimacy, because that's gate 49, the channel of 1949, and the gate 4 being the gate of forgiveness, which is very relational, right? So Dali himself had a lot of insights into human nature, intimacy, sexuality, the relationships of human beings, and he conveys that through his paintings, through gate 23. But you can be born on any other gate and you may have the 2343. It can be like, maybe it's your Mercury, Jupiter, your Venus, Pluto, and have another incarnation cross. So whatever's your incarnation cross, like that tends to be your knowing. That tends to be what you actually know. And when you try to touch on other things in your life that has nothing to do with what you actually know, you're not going to know it. So Salvador Dali, for example, he has an inner knowing about human nature and relationships and sexuality, right? And let's say he tries to build a house. Now he has to build that house based on some kind of knowledge about architecture or home building or the structures of homes and various those kinds of things. He's not going to know it from his own mind. He can learn it, he can study it, but he's not going to know it deeply like he does the thing that's related to his incarnation cross. And so that's the first thing I want to say. You know something, you have an insight about something, and this is something that when you're at, let's say, the shadow of the 2343, which is the 23 complexity, the 43 deafness. So when you're in the shadow of this, you're not going to know it. And that's not to say that there is anything wrong with that. It is just that usually it's like some parts of your life, you're not supposed to know about it yet. You're supposed to experience the not knowing phase, the deafness phase of it. And there's a purpose for it. The universe has given you that deafness for a purpose, so that one day you wake up, your eye is opened, and you, from that place of unknowing, from that place of deafness, you know it. You're no longer deaf. You see that thing that you once never saw. So it usually goes from like black to white, if that kind of makes sense. And so I'm assuming, and I don't know so much about Salvador Dali's life, but I'm assuming that maybe, you know, when he was younger, he was maybe blocked sexually, or maybe he just wasn't in touch with some of the insights that he currently has through his dreams. So he has a lot of dreams, and through his dreams, these insights come to him as a sense of knowing about human nature, human psychology, the unconscious, and sexuality. That I'm going to assume when he's in the deafness phase of it, he doesn't know. That kind of makes sense. So when you don't know, when you're in the deafness and the complexity phase of this, what tends to happen is that you, because gate 23 is in the throat, it's a gate that wants to have something to say and wants to have something to do with the world. This can lead you to doing or saying things in your life that makes your life more complex than simple. So this can mean that you, in your career, you jump around in your career. You know, things get very complicated in your career. You're not making enough money, but you try very hard, but then you end up buying a lot of things in your house and you waste a lot of your money, but yet you try to work more jobs to get more money, but then you spend more of it. So things are just not aligning in your life. This is an example. Maybe it's about relationships, and you get into very complex relationships where there's some kind of trauma, abuse that comes in. You leave that relationship and you fall into the next one, and you have the same cycle repeated again, because you're still in that complex phase where you don't know what is wrong. You don't know how to change this situation. You just don't know. You just don't know. And then one day something happens and you know. But there's no telling like what that's gonna be, when that's gonna happen. It just happens to some people, and it's gonna be at a different timeline from other people. That kind of makes sense. So the moment you know, this channel is very much now compelled to share with others, because there's a sense that, look at how this cross is part of the incarnation cross of explanation. There is a sense of revolution involved. This channel wants you to share what you know, because you know that you can change the world. You can start a revolution and change the world and change the way that people see the world and cause a mutation to happen if you were to share what you know, whether that is through speaking, or whether that is through painting like Salvador Dali, or whether that is through having a talk show, or whether that is through traveling the world and meeting people and sharing or teaching or anything. And so, so this is when the fun starts. When you become the genius is when you bring this particular insight out into the world, because you tend to be, you know, having this deep insight that maybe, let's say, 50% of the people that you meet are not going to have the insight that you have, and the other 50% are going to kind of know where you're coming from and what you're trying to say. So it's not going to be a complete shock or a completely new perspective to them as it would be the other 50% of the people. It would be something that, oh, they're kind of thinking, oh, I kind of know this. I know what this person's trying to say. I understand this topic, but I have no way of being able to do it the way that they do it. And so in either case, it's going to be genius. But there's going to be some people who are going to be like, I don't believe what this person is saying. This is just nonsense. And they resist it. And so let's look at Salvador Dali, right? He has this one painting that is called The Great Masturbator. It's called The Great Masturbator. Now, this painting is quite a genius in itself, if you look at it. I think there's another one of him as well that is called, I think it's a reflection of an elephant, but it looks like a swan. And when you think about the structure of an elephant and a swan, Gate 20, channel 2343, the channel of structuring, the structure of the swan and the elephant are so similar, the tusk and the long neck of the swan, but he reflects it in a very genius way. Now, if Salvador Dali didn't know how to paint, so gate 23 comes in, and gate 23 is the gate that takes the deep knowing of gate 43 and makes it and translates it into the world in a way where people can understand it. So in the case of Salvador Dali, if he didn't know how to paint, and he tries to paint the elephant reflect as a swan, but he didn't know how to paint, people are going to probably look at it and be like, it's not conveying. It's not conveying what it needs to convey. It's not getting the message across. If Salvador Dali were to name one of his paintings The Great Masturbator, but he doesn't know how to paint, people are just going to be looking at painting and thinking, great, dude, you need to get a life and do something else with yourself. But because he knew how to paint, he knew how to take his insights, using the medium, using the tools around him, in a way that it conveys that message, that people look at him and think, that painting is called The Great Masturbator. This guy knows how to paint. He knows how to convey it. That is absolute genius. So that's how the two channels work together in a way that is very genius. So it depends, first of all, on the timeline of when your knowing hits. When your knowing hits, it's very deep. It has a revolutionary impact. It needs to be conveyed through the 23, but you have to know how to convey it using the 23. And if it comes in the form of speaking, you have to know how to speak in a way that is organized enough, easy enough, not using too much jargon. Make sure you're not stuttering. Make sure that you're leaving enough pauses in your speech. Make sure that you are having the right intonation going up and down in your words to get that message across. It's very technical, structural, in how the 23 works. And obviously Dali had to learn how to paint, and painting has a lot to do with the channel structuring, because when you think about painting, and if you guys are painters out there, when you first begin to paint something, you have to see the shapes of what you're about to paint in very simple forms. Instead of seeing this body as a human, you have to see, what's the shape in the head there? What's the shape of, my eyebrow right here? This shape. What is the shape of my nose? What is this triangular shape? You build out the shape in simple forms, and then you build layers and layers. You structure your painting in layers and layers, and then it comes out as what you're trying to convey. And so I hope it's kind of making sense. That's how the 23 technically, mechanically, structurally works to convey the deep insights of the 43 to the point where it becomes genius. And so they like to say that with channel 2343 that the timing has to be right. And I feel like when I read that, I'm kind of like, it's not always about timing, but I feel like when you write that on the internet, it's like the people who write it, they just don't really know what else to write, that they keep repeating this over and over again. But I think that there's more to it than just timing. I think it really depends. I mean, if you're in the right communities and there's people to support you in that particular community, Gate 49, for example, part of that incarnation cross, then people will always support you, But there is going to be a little element of the right timing there as well, of course. And so Salvador Dali is considered to be a madman. They call him madman or genius. And I think one of the things that he said, I can't remember his quote. So if any of you guys watching out there have this particular channel, do comment. So Dali says, the only difference between a madman and me is that a madman thinks he's sane. I know I'm mad. So that's really his 2343 talking, and that's why I wanted to use Salvador Dali in the example for this video, because I feel like he's really used that channel fully. Because a lot of people are going to have this channel, but they're not really using it. But Dali, he totally used it. So he knows he's a madman, and when you have this channel, just admit to yourself that you're a little bit mad, that you're kind of insane, that your ideas are kind of weird, that you have unique, weird, crazy thoughts. But, those thoughts are going to make a difference in the world because they're different and nobody else has the same thoughts or the same concepts or the way that they want to express it that is like you. And so why would you hide it? So some people are going to want to hide their unique thoughts and ideas from the world if you have this channel, because there's a fear of rejection. Gate 43, specifically if Gate 43 is leading this channel, right? Because when you have this channel, you're either going to be more dominant in gate 23 or 43, depending on what planet rules each of these gates. But if your gate 43 is more dominant, you can kind of be afraid of rejection. And also gate 23 is also afraid of rejection as well. I'm not saying you're not going to be if you have gate 23, but you're afraid of rejection. And that's your biggest shadow and your biggest challenge here is to, the only thing that's really stopping you is that fear of rejection, really. When you really pull away that fear of rejection, especially in the age of Aquarius that we're in the age of technology that we're in here, anything goes, right? People are doing all kind of weird things. And so be Salvador Dali, be a madman or a madwoman, because you know that you are. You just know that you are. So become it and be it. And don't be afraid of rejection. You're going to touch people with the things that you create. You're going to cause a revolution. People are going to see things in a different way. Even if they don't like you, they'll still see things in a different way. Of course, that is if you are understood by them with regards to the way that you convey it. If you're not understood, then you're not causing any impact. But if you're understood and people don't like it and there's a resistance there, but at least you've impacted them in some ways. At least you've brought that knowing across for maybe the next generation or the one after that. And if you have this channel, like to be healthy, let's talk a little bit about that. If you have this channel on a daily basis, to be healthy, to have good sleep, to feel good about yourself on a daily basis, you have to use your voice. Like, don't sit there the whole day, not talking to anybody, not saying anything. That doesn't do you any good. Making sure that you're actually saying something on a daily basis, even if it's just to yourself. Have you ever seen a magpie? The magpie is the bird totem for gate 23. The magpie just can't shut up. We have some magpies here in our garden, and when sometimes we're just eating out of the garden, the magpie comes and he's super noisy, and we're like looking at him and it's like, who are you talking to? There's no other magpies around to talk to you. He's talking to himself. Talk to yourself. It's basically just get the energy from the throat out somehow. Sing. Some singers have this particular channel. Ariana Grande, I think, has the channel 2343, and she's a really good mimic. Of course, you all know this about Ariana. She mimics Celine Dion and Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, and she's a really good mimic, just like the magpies, really good with that. Even if you're just mimicking someone, even if you're just talking after somebody or singing after somebody, like that energy from the throat has to come out in some ways. And I think it's not enough to write or to paint or to, we can say like, to do something with it, to express it in that way. But I feel that on a daily basis, it does need an outlet through an actual voice from the throat, even if you're just singing. That kind of makes sense. The last thing I want to say about having this channel, like if you guys have it out there, is that, like if you guys have it out there, like I have it, is don't take yourself so seriously. Really, guys, like don't take yourself so seriously. And when you're sharing the things that you share, because they're so ahead of the curve and they're going to be revolutionary in some ways, it doesn't make sense to attach too much of an expectation to it. And that's the beauty of this channel, when you get to epiphany and quintessence, is epiphany and quintessence, how light do those two words sound to you? Epiphany, the way the word is made. Epiphany and quintessence, it's like it's almost not there. It's so light. And so, and I think that's part of like the ego of this channel as well, is that you really want people to, we can say, be converted or to really listen or to really change their lives. That it's just gonna come across as too intense and sometimes weird and like that madman. But if you add humor to it, and in a way where you're really understanding that not everybody is going to be mutated or with your revolution, that some people are just going to think it's funny, but that's important still. And that some people are not going to, people are just going to resist it, and that's normal, and you can't have your ego tied to this kind of a thing. And presenting yourself, look at Salvador Dali. I mean, he's got that look of his mustache, right? And I think a lot of people who have this channel have a look about them as well. Bono had this channel, and yeah. But basically, when you have it, you know, the way that you actually also want to present yourself is a little bit unique and different, and you have a look about you, and it feels better and it feels more freeing. Trust me, it feels much more freeing when you give it a sense of humor, when you're not too serious about it. And sometimes when you're too serious about it, people also don't want to listen to you because it can feel like you're trying to convert them into something. It can almost feel like you're fanatic. When you're just taking it with a lightheartedness and sense of humor, it's like they like. And there is something about the 23 that is very humorous and youthful and different and unique, like the magpie, right? If the magpie is just talking to itself with that voice, have you ever heard a magpie's voice? It's very weird. It's not a singing bird, it's not a songbird. It doesn't sound nice like a songbird. But if that magpie were to be so serious about the way that it expresses itself, then nobody cares about it. But if that magpie just knows that it's funny and it's weird and it's unique in its own way, then it gets everybody's attention, if that kind of makes sense. So just the last thing that I want to say there. Oh, and Cate Blanchett. Yes, Cate Blanchett also has this channel, and she has that elfish look about her that we can't seem to forget as Galadriel from The Lord of the Rings. Anyways, guys, so that's going to be it for this particular video of channel 2343. If you have anything else to share, comment below. I would love to hear about them. And don't forget to head over to my art YouTube channel and click subscribe there. Looking forward to seeing you guys there as well. And that's it, beautiful souls.